Hey everyone, I'm Lindsay, and I want to share with you today my labor and delivery story. So from when my water broke till when my baby Isabella was born, it was a total of 6 hours, and it happened pretty quickly. So I was exactly 39 weeks pregnant when my water broke, and I remember that day I was not feeling my best. I remember laying down on the couch behind me and drinking lots of fluids. And I started to feel better at nights. And I do want to say a couple of days before my water broke, I did have a little bit of blood on the toilet paper. So I kind of knew maybe something would happen in the next couple of days because that is supposedly an indicator of birth coming soon. So that night, I watched a movie with my husband. I was feeling a lot better, and we were laying down in bed, and then it was 10 p.m., I remember, and the movie had just ended, and I said, okay, I'm going to go to sleep now. And the next day, when Isabella was born, the day that Isabella was born, I did have a doctor's appointment. So I thought, okay, I'm going to talk to the doctor tomorrow and tell her how I was feeling today, and maybe she'll let me know, what I should do. So as soon as I closed my eyes, I heard a pop, and then I had a gush of water. It was really like a gush of water. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was definitely my water had broke. So I told David, I'm like, oh my gosh, my water broke. And David is my husband. And he's like, are you sure your water broke? Or, did you just pee yourself? I was like, no, I didn't pee myself. My water broke. Like, this is the real deal. It's happening. So he's like, oh my gosh, okay. So I got the number to call, and they obviously told me to come right to the hospital because if your water breaks, you need to have the baby within a certain period of time in order to have the baby safely. So basically we got out of the house pretty quickly because I already had all my things packed and ready to go. So we got out of the house, and I remember being in the car, and I was feeling okay in the car ride there. And then all of a sudden, the contractions happened, and oh my gosh, contractions are very painful, at least for myself. They were extremely painful for me, and I felt every single contraction. And I remember I was counting the number of minutes in between each contraction, and in the car ride to the hospital, it was 3 minutes between each contraction. So I was getting a contraction every 3 minutes, and the contractions were around a minute long. So I didn't have a lot of time to breathe in between, but I was still able to breathe, and I was able to be relaxed and try to work through the pain myself. So we got to the hospital, and David brought me up. My husband brought me upstairs to the hospital, to the labor and delivery department. And they, told me I need to change into this gown, and my husband had to go back downstairs to park the car. So that's what he did. And I changed into the gown, and I remember I felt terrible because the contractions were getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So by the time my husband came back up, I was in so much pain. My contractions were happening every minute and a half. So it would be like a minute long contraction, and then I would get another contraction in a minute and a half. So there was really no time for me to breathe. And I also felt like my heart rate was really going up there, and I was getting really nervous actually for my own health because I felt like I couldn't do this. So I felt like I just felt like I'm not going to make it through this. And that's when I started to scream. So I was the lady screaming in the hospital because I was in so much pain, and I felt really bad that I was screaming so much because they actually had not put me in a room yet. they put me in like a waiting area because there were so many other people that were having babies that night. So I was like kind of in like a waiting area, and then there was someone next to me that already had their baby. So they were, you know, trying to rest. And here I am screaming, and I felt super bad, but I didn't know any other way to work through the pain. Even though I had taken labor and delivery classes, it just seemed to like go out the window when I was in the moment. So that's what happened to me. And I did want the epidural. So I said, you know, please, can I get the epidural because I'm in so much pain. And I think they realized that I was in a lot of pain because they got it to me pretty quickly. So once I got the epidural, I did feel a lot better. I felt like I was able to breathe again, and my heart rate started to slow down again. And I just didn't feel like literally I was going to collapse, because that's what I felt like. I felt like I was going to just like collapse from all the contractions and all the pain that I was having. So at that point, I had the epidural. So then I was just trying to relax and breathe, trying to catch my breath. And then they moved us to our own room, which was really great. It was a nice big room. So I said, okay, now I can try to relax and I can try to go to sleep for a little bit. And that's what I wanted to do, because I wanted to get some rest before the baby was born, because I knew that once the baby was born, I wouldn't be getting any rest. So I wanted to try to get some sleep. So that's what we planned on doing, my husband and I. I was like, okay, let's just both go to sleep and try to relax a little bit. And then as soon as I was going to go to sleep, I started to feel contractions in my leg. Yes, I felt them in my leg. So they literally, like every minute and a half, would be running up my leg. And they were so painful in my leg, and there was no way I was going to go to sleep. I said, okay, I'm not going to go to sleep because now I have contractions in my leg. So the anesthesiologist came up, and he was like, you're getting contractions in your leg? That's interesting. But he did give me a little bit more medicine. Unfortunately, it did not help at all. I still was getting the painful contractions in my leg. But what did happen was, after that, I felt really, really nauseous. And I said, oh my gosh, I am going to faint. And I told my husband, I'm going to faint. Like, I'm going to faint. And he knows that I tend to faint. Like, it's just something that happens to me. Sometimes I have low blood pressure and I just faint. And he went out to the nurse and he said, my wife is going to faint. And she said, okay, we're coming right in. So as soon as they were coming in, I vomited all over myself, and then I felt so much better. So that was the nauseous feeling I was feeling. I guess it was that I had to vomit. So I felt so much better after I vomited, and the nurses were so happy that I vomited. They were like, oh, good, you vomited. That's great. You're feeling better. Good. So meanwhile, I vomited all over myself right before I'm about to give birth. So I had vomit all over me. The nurses had to clean me up, and because I had the epidural, I couldn't move my body at all. So I couldn't even move myself. They had to like roll me over, clean me up, and roll me back over. So that was a whole process, but they were super, super nice, the nurses, and they were just like, don't worry about it. It happens. Don't worry about it. Meanwhile, I felt so bad because they had to clean up my vomit, but I was so thankful that they were so nice and so kind, and they were able to help me in that way. But after I vomited, I still was feeling like intense pain in my leg, intense contractions. And I told the nurses, I said, I'm feeling contractions in my leg and they're really, really painful. I'm not sure what to do. And the nurse said, okay, we're gonna get a doctor in. So the doctor comes in and he looks at me. He's like, oh, you're ready to push. I was like, I am? And I was so happy when he said to me, I was ready to push. And I was just like, oh my gosh, yay, I'm ready to push. I'm so excited. I can get rid of this pain. So then I had to wait for the doctor, the actual doctor, because that doctor was a resident doctor that came in, but I needed to wait for my doctor, the gynecologist, to come in. So I had to wait for her. So that took around 30 minutes. And then she came in, and then that's when I started to push. And literally I pushed 6 times. I felt absolutely nothing when I pushed, probably because I was, you know, on the medicine. I had the epidural, so I didn't feel it, which was great because that area was all numb, so I didn't feel anything at all. I pushed 6 times and she was out. Like, it happened so quickly, and I was just so happy to see my baby and see her little eyes looking at me and seeing her crying. And I do have to say though, when she came out of me, she actually pooped on me, and it was pretty funny because I had vomit on me from myself and then I had poop on me from her. But the nurses were really happy that she pooped, because they said, like, it's really good that she pooped once she got out and she didn't poop inside, because then that can cause a whole host of issues if they poop when they're inside of you. So I was like, okay, yay, she pooped on me, yay. So I was excited about that, and I was just excited to hold my baby and finally have her. And once she came out, like, the contractions were all gone. I didn't feel the pain anymore, and I didn't feel any pain because I was so numb from the epidural in that area, so I didn't feel any pain, and it was just like so nice to have her out of me. Now later on, once the epidural wore off, I did feel a lot of pain because I did have a tear that happened. It was a 2nd-degree tear, and so that happened, and they had to stitch me up. So that did hurt a lot, and it took me a while. It took me probably a good 6 weeks to actually heal from the birth. But I was just so happy to have my baby, and she was born at 4:12 a.m. in the morning, and it took 6 hours from when my water broke. So it was so fast. Like, everything happened so quickly. But, you know, whether your labor is long or whether it's short, it's just such a amazing feeling to have your baby in your arms and knowing that your baby is safe. And it's just, I can't explain it, but most of you, if you're a mom, know that feeling. It's just such an amazing feeling to have. So that was my labor and delivery story. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it was helpful in some way. I know that I really enjoyed watching labor and delivery stories, especially when I was pregnant, because every woman has a different experience, and every woman has a different experience with every single pregnancy too. So just because you had a certain experience with your first doesn't mean it's going to be the same with your second. So it's just really interesting to hear different people's stories. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like this video, please be sure to subscribe for lots more mommy content. And thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.